Wow. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here today. I'm Leslie Scarce, President and CEO of the United Way of Greater Chattanooga. And oh my goodness, I'm feeling really overwhelmed with gratitude, excitement over the fact that we have got 4 stories full of virtual people networking today inside this room. And I've got to tell y'all, did not know what to expect. But I can say with full excitement that is pretty incredible, right? To see all of your faces and names inside that room right now. It's not the same as being together, but man, it sure does feel a lot like it. I am here to tell you, friends, that it is in fact true. Hope is not a one-person band. And I have never seen that illustrated more clearly than through the work of our community over this past year. We are here to celebrate the hand raisers and the change makers, those people and organizations who stepped up to restore and champion hope during the crises we faced in 2020. From organizations like the Bethlehem Center and the Boys and Girls Club, who expanded their mission to make sure their children were fed during quarantine and school shutdowns, to La Paz, who worked tirelessly to ensure rapidly evolving COVID-19 information was translated and resources were available to the Latinx community, to grassroots startups of caring neighbors who became known as We Over Me Chattanooga, honestly serving any and everywhere they were needed, to churches and schools and Chattanooga 2.0 who teamed up to start virtual learning centers to support students who could fall behind, to the hundreds of greater Chattanoogans who showed up with chainsaws and trucks to start hauling away debris in their neighbors' yards after the Easter tornadoes. Y'all, we showed up for one another. In fact, we had a record 19,000 volunteers connected to opportunities through United Way's Volunteer Center. That was made possible by our partnership with Elders Ace Hardware. But think about it, friends. Who would have thought that during a year where we spent more time than ever at home, more people engaged in volunteer work? And of course, let's not forget the opportunity to collectively and personally do the hard work of reflecting, remembering, and risk-taking to combat racial injustice in order to move towards change for a more just and equitable world. I have to say that reflecting on this past year, perhaps one of the most poignant things was the daily reminder of the one thing we all hold in common. In life, we are all gonna give help, and we are all gonna need help. That's what makes us human. In 2020, flipped the script in so many ways. People who gave to the United Way in 2019 became the recipients of help in 2020. Neighbors who rolled up their sleeves on a past day of caring saw volunteers come over their own fences and start cleaning up debris from the tornado that wrecked their own homes. Parents who had once invested in other children's education needed our early learning scholarships. And companies who view United Way as part of their corporate social responsibility strategies relied on our partnership in 211 to stand in for the employees they had to furlough during COVID, to keep them economically stable and ready to return to the workforce strong and stable. Y'all, this is community. And this is what we mean when we say to live better, we must live united. So one of the many lessons, and I've got to tell you, there were many that I've learned about working during a crisis, is that you've got to take the time to stop, reflect, and celebrate the victories, big and small. And that is what we are here to do today with the Celebrate Awards. We are going to give out 3 awards. One is Innovation in Action, the Volunteer of the Year Award, and the Nonprofit of the Year, to those who rose to unprecedented heights in service to their neighbors this past year. And these awards were sponsored by some really critical, long-standing partners of the United Way, Bridge Innovate, Lawson Electric, and the Double Cola Company. Now, we've received an incredible response and nomination for these awards, which is not a surprise because our social sector is really strong. And as you've heard today, and you will continue to, while much of the world was slowing down, many nonprofits were ramping up. There are only 3 finalists per award, but the work goes so much deeper and farther than these 9 organizations. And as you've heard, no one person or nonprofit can move the needle in our community alone. Above all else, we celebrate the impact we've been able to make together, This incredible amount of effort, care, and dedication to the community of Greater Chattanooga itself is worthy of a great celebration. So I also want to thank our advocate sponsors who've signed on in celebration of all that you here today as a community have done. So thank you, advocates. I want to share who they are today. ACA, Baker Donaldson, Bridge Public Affairs, Chambliss, First Horizon, Ymca, Mountain View Auto Group, Pratt Home Builders, and Truist. Thank you for joining us. Now, make no mistake, nonprofits don't do community work alone. In fact, the United Way's mission is to unite people and resources to build a stronger, healthier community. To put it simply, we believe in the power of 1 + 1 = 4. That's not fuzzy math, okay? 1 + 1 = 4 is all about the power of cross-sector collaboration. And what that means is that we bring together the strengths of businesses, neighborhoods, schools, government, faith, and nonprofits for a stronger, more sustainable outcome to some of our community's toughest problems. And I can't wait to introduce you to the volunteer who's been leading this charge in 2020. Charlie Brock, who many of you know, simply said yes to serving as our giving chair when we invited him in 2019. Now, I've got to tell you, it has been a real blessing to work with you, Charlie, over the past year. And when you said yes to serving as our giving chair, our workplace campaign chair, we had no idea, did we, what was coming our way with the pandemic and tornadoes. We knew Charlie was the perfect fit. I'm not even going to read his bio. You guys all know Charlie. But what we knew is that Charlie brought this entrepreneurial spirit and the ability to give everything. He was the kind of volunteer that would give everything, leave it all on the line for what he believed in. And I've got to tell you that when the world turned upside down, that's exactly what Charlie did. He rolled up his sleeves. He brought that entrepreneurial spirit. He helped us take what was normal, turn it upside down, and approach giving and a campaign in a virtual, all new way. And Charlie, it's been a blessing to see what you accomplished with us, with our team, for the community, and how the community rose to the challenge. I will never forget serving alongside you this year. It's been a blessing. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Leslie. I appreciate that so much, and it's a pleasure to be with all of you today. I appreciate you being in attendance with us as we celebrate the successful end of this campaign. And Leslie, thank you for your leadership over the last several years, and particularly this past year. It's been a difficult environment, but you've led with grace, with passion, with faith, and inspiration. So we're all greatly appreciative and fortunate to have you in this role. You know, as Leslie articulated, so much of the magic to me of United Way is about people and the personal stories. It's those stories of people who have received services through United Way and how their lives have been strengthened and they've gotten back on their feet, or gotten through healthcare, gotten through crisis, gotten through things that they would not have otherwise done so without United Way. It's also about the people who've given the help, whether that's financial or as a volunteer. And Leslie talked about so many volunteer hours over the last year. It's really been incredible. It's about people who come together at a company to go work, be involved with the Week of Caring. It's about people who come together with a common mission with Women United or with emerging leaders of United Way to serve their neighbors in need. It's about people, all of you, who dug deep this year despite lots of uncertainties posed by the pandemic. And you dug deep and you continued your financial support so that we can support those in need. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. If you'll indulge me for just a minute, I'm going to give you a little bit of my personal story about this campaign this year. As some of you know, my family has a long history with United Way, and I'm very blessed to have been part of this community. We are for many generations. And in fact, my great-grandfather was the very first campaign chair for United Way back in 1922. And then my grandfather, W. Brock, was campaign chair, or W. Brock Jr., campaign chair in 1949. And my father, Pat Brock, was campaign chair in 1981 and continues today to be an ardent supporter of United Way. So I always knew that I wanted to have the opportunity to follow in their footsteps and to lead the United Way campaign. So I was set to serve, but quite honestly, my world was upended in fall of 19 when my wife, Lisa, died very suddenly and unexpectedly. So as I talked to Leslie and to the outgoing chair, Mike St. Charles, in late 2019 and early 20. At first, I was like, no way, I just can't do it this year. And that would have been fine and certainly understandable. As I continued to think about it and pray about it and talk to others about it, I thought maybe this could be part of my own healing process, and that in getting out in this community, get to meet with other business leaders, getting to know even more so the nonprofits who are serving our neediest, and to work with so many of you to help those in need. I thought this could be something that, again, would be a good thing. I did tell Leslie in February of 20, I committed, and I did tell Leslie that I was all in. I was excited to meet with folks. I was excited particularly to get to meet with the nonprofits. I probably would not be the rah-rah cheerleader at the events. And she said, that's okay, we understand, and we're glad to have you. Obviously, so we started planning in early March, and then shortly thereafter, things were upended, not just for me, but for this whole community with COVID. And obviously, COVID changed the entire nature of the campaign. There would be no rah-rah events. There would be no visits to the nonprofits, and there would be no personal in-person CEO calls. Zoom became our most important resource, and faith and trust became our most important attributes. While I didn't get to visit the nonprofits, I did get to witness a remarkable thing. Starting in the third week of March, United Way started convening calls every morning at 9 a.m. And many of you may have sat in on those calls, were part of it. It was amazing to watch. Typically, there were over 100 people. It was the nonprofit community. There was for-profit community. There was government. There were other institutions. There was individuals who just cared and wanted to be part of helping. Every day, it was about the biggest challenges of the day or of the week and how people could come together to help those in need. It was, again, magical. People left their agendas and their missions at the door. It was really about, how do I help? What can I do to help the situation? And it was COVID. And then a couple of weeks later, when the tornadoes ripped through our community Easter evening, that next morning, it was all about how do we help our neighbors in need in East Brainerd and Ottawa. And so I've never been more grateful for the United Way. I've never been more grateful for the nonprofit community and really just this entire community and how we do come together in times of crisis, and we care. And so it is an amazing thing to be part of. I will say also, when we kicked off the campaign, I got to receive the remarkable caring leadership of so many of our business leaders. So, obviously we were talking to them through a lot of Zoom about the campaign, but really Leslie and I usually spent the first 30 minutes talking about their companies and about their associates and how those leaders were leading through times of crisis, through COVID, and with the social unrest that was roiling our community and the country. And again, it was really remarkable and very fulfilling, and I have immense gratitude to know what kind of leadership we have throughout this community. So you led your companies through that. You led them to support United Way so that we can be in this position today to continue to help our neighbors. We also did retool the campaign. As Leslie said, a lot of changes needed to be made. We changed the structure of how we organize our donors, our staff, our volunteers. We moved to a completely virtual format, and we expanded our calling list because we knew that there was going to be some businesses that just could not participate to the level that they had in prior years because of layoffs. And so we worked through that, and so many of you stepped up to help us get through that and to offer not only your financial support, but also your advice and wise counsel. So at United Way, we measure our success by measurable impact, by lives changed, and by clear return for the community. While many contributed to our ability to do so, I'd like to point out a few names in particular. This past year, we had over 171 workplace campaigns. We had so many individual donors, and we had so many corporate donors. Again, a number of businesses, because of layoffs, it was a struggle to match their prior year donations. But we had some of our largest donors, and you see our top 10 donors for the past year listed here, and they really stepped up in incredible ways. So I thank you all. I particularly thank these 10 companies here and their leaders for engaging your leadership and your associates in this effort and being willing to say, hey, we've got to step in because there's going to be some gaps here, and we've got to step in a major way. So thank you for all that. And your investment for all of you in this community and in the work of United Way through the 211 Calling Center, through nonprofit training, through Venture Forward, through the grants that we give to companies, to organizations like Chandler Center, like the Partnership for Families, Children, and Adults, and the Boys and Girls Clubs, just to name a few. it wouldn't happen without you, and we're just thankful for that. So shout out to all of you. I would also say, as we think about last March, not only did we start with convening daily calls, we also put off the campaign, and we said we've got to raise money to help those who've been most afflicted by COVID. And so we started the Restore Hope campaign, and we started raising money the last week of March. We raised money from many, many organizations, including some of the leading organizations that you see listed here. Many, many individuals, many of you stepped up to give money to Restore Hope. And quite honestly, we knew that could impact our campaign. It might cannibalize some of that, but that was a risk we had to take. And we said, we just got to have faith in our community, and we've got to get out and raise money for the folks who have been impacted, who've lost jobs, who've been laid off. I got to tell you, I've been on the Boys and Girls Club board for a number of years, and the first recipient, Restore Hope, came into United Way. The dollars came in, and then it went out to 12 different supporting organizations, one of which was the Boys and Girls Club. The very first recipient was a grandmother who was a caregiver for her 2 grandkids, both of whom are members of our club. She had lost her job. She'd been employed in the hospitality industry for 20 years. She'd been laid off due to COVID. We were able to get her a $700 make her the recipient of $700 that helped her with her rent check for the month of April. That's what Restore Hope was all about. That's what this community is all about. I've also got to point out a couple of very special organizations. There was a partnership with EPB in Tennessee Valley where they offered to match donations up to $50,000. Collectively, these 2 organizations and some of the match dollars contributed $320,000 to support local economic recovery. EPB employees donated an additional $20,000 to the effort. I've got to say, EPB also helped us out when COVID hit. In our 211 call center, we went from 1,000 calls a week to 5,000 calls a week. We had to man that call center. EPB loaned us manpower to help get us through that really trying time. So I got to say, the 2020 campaign has been about healing for many of us on a personal level and as a community. It's been about transformation. It's been about collaboration, and it's been about our community coming together and led by the United Way. So thank you for that. And it's been an honor to serve as the campaign chair this last year. And I'm also really honored and excited to introduce the new campaign chair. This person is no stranger to this community. Earlier, you saw the video talk about the change makers and the hand wavers. Elaine Swafford is nothing if not that. She steps in ways when there's a need and when there's a gap. And she has done so in so many different ways for our community over the years. Most prominently over the last 9 years as head of the Chattanooga Girls Leadership Academy, which was the first all-girls public charter STEM school in the state of Tennessee. And she's led that so well, and they're opening a new elementary school here in just a couple of months. Elaine is also getting ready to end her tenure as the president of Chattanooga Downtown Rotary Club, and she's agreed to step in as campaign chair. Elaine, I'm just thrilled to be able to pass the baton to you, but I'm also I want you to know this is an incredible opportunity you're stepping into, and I hope the job is just half as fulfilling for you as it has been for me, and our community is lucky to have you, and I look forward to working with you as we go through this next year. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie, and I'm glad to be here, and I certainly look forward to working with Leslie and her staff on the campaign, and I know I have big shoes to fill, but I look forward to that work ahead. But today, I have the honor of introducing our speaker, so I get to do part of the fun part of the program, and so I get to introduce Coach Will Heeley. And let me just tell you a little bit about Coach. And so Will is the head coach of the UNC Charlotte 49ers. He's a native Chattanoogan, an alumnus of Boyd Buchanan High School, where he started his actual football career as a 2-time All-Star quarterback. He then went on to play college football at the University of Richmond, where he and his team, he was the team captain of the Spiders and the 2008 FCS championship team. He was hired in 2018 and became the second youngest football coach in Division I football. And in just his second season at Austin Peay, he spearheaded one of the most remarkable turnarounds in college football history, and I remember that. He went on to spend 7 years as an assistant coach there at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga before taking over at Austin Peay. And he was part of a big turnaround with the Mocs as well. They jumped from a 1-11 prior season to a remarkable 6-5 in his first season. They won a share of the Southern Conference Championship in each of his last 3 seasons and made the FCS playoffs in 2014 and 15. In his first year with the 49ers, he led Charlotte to its own historic season, which is pretty amazing. He, at that time, at the UNC Charlotte, he set records for the most wins, 7, and the most conference wins, which was 5, and the most home wins while advancing to the school's first bowl game. They rattled off a school record of 5 straight wins to end that regular season and earned a bid to the Makers Wanted Bahamas Bowl. He also unveiled, and I'm sure he'll talk about that today, the Club Lit. And I'll leave him to talk about that, but it was a postseason celebration. And Will is the father, a husband, a remarkable coach, and someone who knows what it means to lead meaningfully and in change. And so we're excited, Will, to have you with us today. And let me say, what a remarkable resume that you've built. And again, one of the best and up and coming coaches. I've read a lot about you, but probably one thing that you might not know about you and myself, we have one thing or two in common, and that is, first of all, I'm an old coach. I just coach and motivate still today on a daily basis, but I am also an Austin peer. So I'm a former student athlete there. And so again, didn't know that when I got to introduce you, but welcome and glad to have you with us today. So just tell us a little bit about your background in Chattanooga and connecting to some of our local organizations.
Yeah, I know you love the virtual meetings as much as I do, with kids running around and phones ringing and all that stuff. But I can say "Let's go P" finally for the first time. When we were 0-11, saying "Let's go P" wasn't very cool. We finally won some games is a little bit more cool. But honored to be on with everybody. And I told Leslie, obviously, a lot of people had to decline this opportunity for y'all to get all the way down to me, but I'm glad to be able to help. And fond of Chattanooga. It's where I grew up. It's where I met my wife. It's where both of our kids were born, and a special place. So I'm honored to be on and help however I can today, and look forward to getting a chance to talk to you.
Well, I talked a little bit about your coaching background, but, just, to our audience today, talk about your turnarounds and your coaching philosophy and just how you got from where you were to where you are and what you build on.
Well, I think the biggest thing for me was, it was, at 30 years old, at the all-D job. It was the 256th ranked job out of 256 Division I jobs. And I got it because nobody else wanted it. And I fought my rear end off. I called everybody I could and sold my soul for the worst job in college football, because I believed there was a way to do things, and I wanted to give it a shot. Obviously, 30 years old, you're saying, oh, we'll go in here. And I remember telling my athletic director, Brian Ivey, when I was interviewing for the job, I said, why? If there's ever a time to take a risk, it's now. I mean, how much more can I mess this place up than what has already been messed up? You've already lost 45 out of the last 46. If I win a game, y'all will build a statue of me, And I said, we'll win a couple games in year one just based on some energy. And 0 for 13 later, I found out that's a lot more difficult than it looks like. So had a lot of learning and growing up, still do. And you figure out what's important to you along the way. But I think the consistency of this is what I want a player's student athlete experience to look like, and this is what I want an assistant coach's experience to be like, is what's kept me going and fighting for what I believe in. And it's been extremely rewarding. Even though, please, nobody look up my career record while we're on here. We may lose some people on the screen if we do that.
Tell me just a little bit about, I just want to take that just a little bit further. about your culture building. You know, you work with a lot of people, you work and build young people, but I know, there's some culture building with some passion and enthusiasm and just accountability. Can you talk to us about how you build your culture around your teams?
Yeah, what's unique for me is that I feel like every year I start to reflect and say, what did I hone in on the most this year? What really was important to me. I remember my first year at Austin P, it was shaking a hand. I want our guys to understand how to interact with people and shake a hand and make a great first impression, and building fans. So we had a shake a hand rule. You had to shake somebody's hand if you didn't know their first and last name, and somebody came in our building or came to our practice, you had to go shake their hand, introduce yourself. I'm Will Healey. I'm a sophomore quarterback. I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And that was just to kind of create a little bit of pride. It was also to get people to come to games. I will say we broke an attendance record with the nation's longest losing streak. I don't think that would have happened anywhere else other than Clarksville, Tennessee. But a lot of that was because of the way our players really bought in and to our community, and the way our community bought into our university. So we've gotten to 4 pillars. You talked about passion, energy, enthusiasm, and positivity. To me, that's a way of life, and that's part of who we are. Those are non-negotiables in our program. But the pillars that we have, positivity is the top one. We have authenticity, which to me is be real, understand where your strengths are, understand what you need to work on, but just be genuine. And accountability, that's consistency. I'm taking responsibility for the actions that go and the events that happen in my life. And then the last one is community. And for me, being in Charlotte, North Carolina, being in Chattanooga, Tennessee, when I was at UTC, it's a big deal to embrace your community and to make sure that our players have opportunities in our community, but also that our city wraps itself around this university. So, and it's every day's a battle. We have culture installation every single day. We'll do it during the season. We'll do it during the off season. We have culture cookouts on Wednesday night during the summer, because these guys can kind of relax and really focus and hone in on some of these things. So if you ever think your culture is where you want it to be, you'll get passed up in a hurry. I mean, we install culture as much as we install any kind of scheme for each and every week.
So, you and I both know that culture is important, whether it's a team sport, whether it's in your community, whether it's the school. Culture, I've always had the saying that if you're not careful, culture will take your strategy off and eat it for breakfast. Someone said that before myself, but it is true. And so talk just a little bit about translating that to communities, to the folk that are listening in their organizations.
Well, I think that, for me, it's and one of our big boosters and a good friend of mine in Charlotte says all the time, culture is awesome, right? It's basically this huge plan for what you want it to look like. But if you don't have the right character people in your culture, then your culture is non-existent. You're great on paper, but it doesn't, and that's trials for me, right? I mean, I want to go take the next 5-star that can go win us a conference championship. And for me, it's about getting the right people and not taking chances and cutting corners on character to make sure that we can establish the right type of culture. So from a community standpoint, it's about what is the unique part about United Way, and I deal with this all the time, going to raise money and resources for something that are bigger than yourself. I hate asking for money from people. Now, if my mom and dad are on here, they will totally disagree, because I'll ask it from them all the time. But from other, I want to be somebody that you enjoy getting a phone call from, right? And then all of a sudden you got to pick up the phone and you got to say, hey, I need $15,000 because we want to fly to go to North Texas this next week, or I want to do some staff development. It's not fun to call people and ask for money, but I think the unique part about what I do, I'm not raising money for me. I'm raising money for a student athlete experience. I'm raising money to surround these young men with grown men who can help them become great husbands and fathers when they leave. It's the same thing as United Way. I mean, it's not about a particular individual. It's about something bigger than yourself. And I think you can put yourself at ease as a fundraiser, which that's a big part of my job as a CEO, and you can, you're willing to give more as somebody who's willing to invest because it's bigger than you. And that's what I've got to instill in these guys is their identity cannot be wrapped up in the game of football. They have to understand they have tools when they leave here to survive and thrive, and that our program and our culture supersedes what this game's about. This is just a unique avenue for us to be able to instill it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I'm a fundraiser for the schools, and I always say to myself, it's for the girls. It's not about me, but it's for the kids and what we're trying to get done for them. And you've heard Charlie talk about earlier about we're innovators. We're always pushing the needle. And I know that you have this thing called, I mentioned it briefly in your bio, but Club Lit. And so, I'd love to know just a little bit more about that, about, we're always looking for new ideas, new techniques, new approaches. Tell us about Club Lit, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So we'd lost 49 of our last 50 games. We opened up 2017 at Austin Peay with Cincinnati, and I had a shot to beat them. Luke Fickell's first game, and came up short. We turned the ball over on the 2-yard line trying to go in to score, and then we got stopped on 4th and 1 from the 3-yard line going in to score. And we really had a shot to win the game. We were 57-point underdogs, which would have been the largest upset in the history of Vegas betting lines. And I told our team all summer long, when we win this game, we're going to the ESPYs for upset of the year. That was our rally cry for the summer. We're going to the ESPYs. And so we come up short. The next week, we have an unbelievable week of practice. I know we're better, but saying you're better than the worst team to ever probably put on jerseys in 2016, that's not saying a whole lot. But I knew we were better. And we go play Miami of Ohio, and they just wear us out. And we don't look competitive. We look disinterested. We don't play very well. And so I meet with our leadership committee on Sunday after the game's over with, and I said, what is it? We have the most energetic, enthusiastic practices I've ever seen in my life, but you guys just went out and wasted an opportunity on Saturdays. You look disinterested. And one of our guys, Max Ewalt, he was a 6-year senior. He'd won 1 game in his entire career there. He looked at me, he said, Coach, Monday through Fridays, we get to hide. He said, Saturdays, we get exposed. And we've been exposed around here on game days for a long time. Saturdays are not fun. So I said, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to win this Saturday. Like I wish it was that easy. But we're going to win this Saturday. And when we do, we're going to celebrate like nobody's ever celebrated before. So I said, I told them, we had bought new goalposts, and I told them we're not tearing down the goalposts until we win a game. So our goalposts look like V's. I mean, it was the most wrecked looking field you've ever seen in your entire life. And so we win the game. We win like 63-7. All right. We get like 15 personal fouls for celebrations. The benches are clearing because everybody's running in the end zone to go celebrate with these guys. So much so that the commissioner of our league called me and said, Will, your guys have to act like they've been there before. And I was like, they haven't. We've never won. So we went in the locker. We tear the goalpost down. We smoke cigars in the locker room after beating a non-scholarship team and going, 1-2 on the year and winning our first game. I was 0 for 13 as a head coach, crying on the field. My wife and I are embraced. I mean, you would have thought we just won our 5th consecutive national championship. We won our first game. And so to me, it was creating an environment in the locker room that those guys craved throughout the week. And it was something that maybe pushed them, celebrating success. When you get your butt kicked as long as I did, when you finally had success, you need to celebrate it. And that's how it started at Austin Peay. And then when we got to Charlotte, we started Charlotte, and then Club Lit. We've turned our locker room now into a club. We got a DJ that's in there after all the wins. We got strobe lights. We got all kinds of stuff. So it's a unique way to market ourselves, but it's all about how do we celebrate success because these guys work really hard, 365 days for 12 guaranteed opportunities. So when success happens, we need to enjoy it.
So let me build on that just a little bit more. So it brings to mind, how do you actually, all of us need to understand this, but how do you coach resiliency? What do you do? Clublets, yep. But what do you do to get people to really believe in themselves and be resilient with it?
Yeah, that's the challenge of coaching and motivating. I mean, I think about having to coach myself and motivate myself at 18 to 23 years old, and you say, man, I'm crazy for doing this. But I think the biggest thing about it, I mean, you talk about resiliency. The last 16 months have been the most difficult months of my life. Having 125 players sitting in the locker room, canceling 9 games. 7 of the 9 games were canceled within 48 hours of the game. 5 of the 9 games were canceled within 24 hours of the game. So you have a group of 18 to 23-year-olds that just worked their tail off the entire week for just an opportunity to go play. They're getting these things stuck all the way up their nose to their brain, getting tested 3 times a week, wearing a mask for walkthroughs, working out with Ace Hardware gloves on. I mean, unbelievable what they sacrificed to have 9 games canceled. And I honestly believe the key to resiliency is positivity. Number one, like Marcus Lattimore, who was an unbelievable running back at South Carolina, came to speak to our guys before last year, and he said, suffering ceases to be suffering the moment you give it meaning. And for me, it's like when you can put meaning going through, and when you can find and use positivity and find a purpose in your journey, then it's something that's helped me really get through it. And if I want positivity in a program, I better be the statue of positivity whenever I walk into this building. So it's been a huge part of our culture, and one of the reasons why we've thrived through the last 16 months.
Let me ask you one last question. I know here we're going to run out of time. I have to ask one question. So, we've got people here who are different organizations, volunteers, corporate partners, you name it. Just one last question. What message of hope and encouragement would you have for all of them?
Well, my hope and encouragement comes every day when I get a chance to walk into our team room with 120 unbelievable young men that are from all different backgrounds, that have had all different types of experiences. But my hope is that I got a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old who don't understand anything other than their brothers may not necessarily look like them, talk like them, aren't from the same background. I've got a group of 120 young men that do things the right way, are committed to making a change in this world and in people's experience. And that's my hope. That's what I love about my profession. That's why it's not my life, but there's not a better profession on the face of the earth, because when you go through, situations like the George Floyd and social injustice and all these types of things,
Sure.
I'm the goofy white dude from Ottawa, Tennessee, that grew up with a mom and a dad and went to a private school, but yet I get a chance to be there and help understand, some guys who may not be from my background. Some of my best friends that are right next door are from all different shapes and sizes. And, the message I hope is that, hopefully life is, there's some light at the end of this tunnel. I haven't had to stick a thing up my nose in the last 2 weeks, so life's getting here. But continue to be a servant and live for things that are bigger than you. And obviously all of us are fortunate enough to be on this call and a part of this organization, and be a light to other people, because everybody needs it right now.
Well, I appreciate you coming on with us and just sharing for a few minutes. And it was great speaking with you, learning about what you think, where your heart is. And so thank you so much for being with us. And I see Leslie has joined us. So Leslie, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you for all of these incredible words. I love that, the message of taking a risk, figuring out what's important, fighting for what's important, and creating a culture, right, of character and of celebration. And folks, that is what we're here to do today. We are here to celebrate and to create a culture that celebrates what's important in our community. And we are shifting our focus in our celebration awards right now to do just that together. Elaine, we're so excited to work with you in this next season together to do great things for our community. Thank you. Can't wait to share your story too in the year ahead of everything that you have really just done to serve and what this next layer of community commitment looks like. And thanks, Coach.
Look forward to it, Leslie. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right, Greater Chattanooga community. Resilience is what's key in this message from Coach Healey and what we've been talking about today. And there's no doubt we've seen that on display. And that's what we're going to talk about as we transition to the awards part of this celebration. You know, United Way invests in our community in a lot of ways, and I'm not going to even go into all that detail. But what's important to know, I think, is that true impact requires a lot more than financial investment. And that is why we are really focused not just on the grants that are made or investing the $24 million in COVID relief through Tennessee Cares that we were able to be part of this fall to the 86 local nonprofits on the front lines of COVID. But we're also investing in the Volunteer Center and in nonprofit capacity building through Venture Forward, offering trainings, networking opportunities, and innovation services to our local nonprofits. Great organizations have great leaders. They have an innovation mindset. They have collaborative approaches and a focus on operational excellence. And so we are excited to recognize some organizations in town that are doing just that. But first, community voice is at the center of all of the decision-making at United Way, and this holds true today. I think it's so important that we are clear that these awards that we are about to announce, that no United Way staff or board members were involved in the scoring or the judging of our worthy nominees. And really what's important is we want to take the time to recognize the community judges who took time out of their schedules to evaluate these worthy nominations. So thank you to these community members who contributed their perspective and their wisdom. Thank you to each of you. And I also want to let each of you know that a physical award that is really special and handmade for you will be presented to the winners later. Winners are not notified before this event, so this is a surprise for everybody. The award is a beautiful piece of art created by our partners at the Ymca Center, the long-term partner at the Ymca Center who are helping our Chattanooga adults that are living with mental illness thrive. So let's transition. Let's get this party started. Now, friends, it seems really strange to me to not be together in a room while we are celebrating these nominations and these winners. So I'm going to ask y'all to humor me and to do something that seems a little bit crazy, okay? When we celebrate our nominees and we announce our awards together, I want you all to look around, whatever room you're in, if you're in your kitchen or your car or perhaps your office, and find something that's fun for you. It might be a picture of your kids or your coffee cup, a pen. For me, I have a handmade pom-pom, okay? And when we announce the winner of each award, I want you all in your own space to grab whatever's fun for you and wave it with me, okay? That will be our collective hooray, okay? All right, thank you for humoring me. All right, I would like to introduce Jenny Whitener, founder and CEO of Bridge Innovate, who brings 18 years of experience in teaming with organizations to build business innovation, leadership, and future readiness. Bridge is based right here in Chattanooga and works with clients like Unum, Shaw, Kenco, and the United Way, as well as lots of companies worldwide. Now, Jenny, we worked together a long time, and 2020 showed us that crisis creates opportunity. And thankfully, because we've been working together for more than 4 years, we were ready with some innovation skills.
You're right. Thanks, Leslie. It's great to be here with you today. It's not just about the innovation skills, and not just the innovation tools. What we've learned together is that it starts with courageous leadership. And really, when I think about it, you've been the champion that showed the way with that. You've embraced change along the way. You've helped us by drawing us to the data in our region to help us see clearly that change needs to happen, and it's going to take all of us coming together to meet those needs in our community. In fact, I remember, that famous quote by Einstein, who once said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And so being here with you today, it's very exciting. And it's also my pleasure to be teaming with you and the courageous leadership that you've helped to demonstrate as we challenge all of us to think differently, to embrace innovation and change to help people in need in our community.
Jenny, I appreciate that. It's really come though from so many of our partners in community teaming up with us together. What else, like from your experience, what else does it take to lead innovation?
When we work with companies and organizations around the globe, it really comes down to three things, really. In addition to the courageous leadership, great innovation takes genuine empathy, the ability to truly and deeply listen to people. Mm-hmm. And I've seen every big change that the United Way has made. It started with listening to people in communities, listening to the nonprofits, listening to our partners, listening to the citizens in this community, and bringing diverse views together, fostering that collective wisdom through all those perspectives, and enabling the power of this community in action.
That's true, because we definitely don't have the answers. Our community is who has the answers. But it's not just collaboration, it's about execution. Otherwise, it's just an idea, right? If you can't mobilize it, it just sits on the shelf.
That's right. That's true. And so that's why I'm really excited about presenting the Innovation and Action Award to an organization that's actually demonstrated all three of these characteristics: courageous leadership, genuine empathy, and the ability to mobilize collaborative innovation. So let's talk about the three finalists. First, the Clínica Médicos. Clínica Médicos is a community-based medical clinic designed to solve the complex challenges of healthcare, especially for the Latino community of our city. Through COVID, they managed not only to do their regular clinical work, but also played a key role in minority testing and vaccinations. Now for finalist number 2, WTCI. WTCI is our local PBS station and enriches lives through quality programs, services that educate, engage, and inspire a lifetime of learning and exploration. In response to distance learning, they launched 45.4, a new channel focused on educational content in partnership with Hamilton County Schools and lifelong learning efforts. And now for finalist number 3, Reflection Riding Arboretum and Nature Center. Reflection Riding is a 317-acre botanical garden, nature center, and historical site located at the foot of Lookout Mountain. Through the pandemic, they reimagined their programs, access to their property, and partnerships, and are on track to triple normal usage of their property. So let's hear a little bit more about our finalist. What incredible finalist. I wish I had one of Leslie's shakers. How amazing. So much extraordinary work, so much innovation going on with these finalists. So now it's time for us to talk about the winner. The winner of the Innovation and Action Award truly has displayed courageous leadership, genuine empathy, and the ability to mobilize collaborative innovation. During the pandemic, most community clinics, government sites, and healthcare locations minimized clinical access for the underserved on account of administrative or employer restrictions. This organization carried the banner for clinical care for the underserved, administering over 13,000 COVID tests and over 4,000 vaccines to primarily our African American and Latinx neighbors. The winner of the Innovation and Action Award is Clínica Médicos. Yay! How exciting.
Yes, I feel like we need to have a room cheering and standing. Congratulations, Clínica Médicos. It does strike me that Clínica Médicos did not spend one day closed during this pandemic. Congratulations to you, your team, and what it means for this behavioral health expansion that you are charting in the days to come. Moving on, we are celebrating volunteerism. Volunteers are the engine behind our impact. They are one of the most critical resources when it comes to implementing solutions and getting work done. In fact, did you all know that volunteering is actually valued monetarily at $28.54 an hour? It's shown to increase a company's bottom line and employee engagement. But when it comes to community change, The real life value of volunteering is immeasurable. The more people that give their time, the more we accomplish together. Now listen up. Volunteering actually has personal benefits as well. It reduces stress. It adds to your overall health and well-being. And friends, get this. I recently read this study that shows the link between volunteering and weight loss. That is another post-pandemic reason to get out there and volunteer. Our partners at Lawson Electric know that real impact goes beyond a financial bottom line, and I'm excited to welcome United Way of Greater Chattanooga staff member and volunteer extraordinaire, Jermaine Akins, to the stage with me. Jermaine exemplifies the heart of volunteerism, and every time I turned around in 2020, Jermaine was feeding someone in need, fixing a neighbor's electrical wiring, or doing something to help the community. Jermaine doesn't volunteer because he works at the United Way. He volunteers because that's who he is, much like the finalist for this award. Welcome, Jermaine.
Thank you so much, Leslie. I'm so excited to be here, represent Lawson Electric. I worked there for 6 years before joining United Way as the labor liaison. And like us, Lawson has been around nearly 100 years, and I absolutely love their values. And that is to do the right thing, to treat their employees and customers well, and to be involved in the community. I'm so proud that in 2020, we volunteered with the tornado cleanup. We delivered food and medication to seniors during the lockdown. In fact, just through United Way's network of 19,000 volunteers strong, stepped up to volunteer at nonprofits all across Chattanooga. So on behalf of Lawson Electric and United Way, I'm honored to present the Volunteer of the Year Award. This award recognizes an outstanding company, organization, or individual who has given their time and talent and has made a significant impact through volunteer service. The 3 finalists are Rebecca Parton with Northside Neighborhood House, the crew leaders with Habitat for Humanity, the Friends of Special Children who support sickness centers. Let's get to know them a bit more. Wow, this is so exciting. I absolutely love people that serve. The award goes to a group of 25 dedicated people. This group has raised over $1 million to support their cause. And every time they volunteer, they bring respect, they bring integrity, and everybody can feel it. So the winner of the Volunteer of the Year Award goes to Friends of Special Children. Congratulations.
Congratulations to all the nominees and to the Friends of Special Children with Signal Centers. Congratulations. We know that what you do is so critical for the children and also to the mission of Signal Centers. In fact, I was just talking with Donna McConico, their CEO, this morning, recognizing that what they do is incredibly important to the mission of Signal Centers. I've got to take this second to note that while Signal Center's mission is critical across the ages and stages of so many of our neighbors, just this January, Signal Centers took on a legacy program in our community that for the last 17 years, the United Way has been leading. The Dolly Parton Imagination Library is now in the hands of Signal Centers. And we know that it takes strong volunteers like the Friends of Special Children that support organizations like Signal Centers to build strong organizations to carry things like this forward. So thank you to all of the work that you do, and congratulations to all of the nominees. So for our final award, the Nonprofit of the Year, let me ask you all a question. What do high-performing businesses and high-performing nonprofits have in common? The answer? Quite a lot. I am sure that if you are a nonprofit leader here today, you have likely heard the adage, operate your nonprofit like a business. We know the good intentions behind this saying, but our goal is not to operate like just any business. Our goal is for nonprofit to operate like the best businesses. All of us in this room today, whether we are business or nonprofit leaders, leaders in a house of worship, or even leaders of a student-run government, we strive for a common standard. Nonprofit or for-profit, we strive for excellence. In the words of author Jim Collins, we don't want to be good, we want to be great. And what makes any organization great? Strong leadership, breadth and depth of impact, quality of work and approach, resiliency, and the ability to adapt and recover in crisis and financial health. Aren't these a few qualities we are all striving for? And no one understands the importance of these qualities more than United Way board member and CEO of Double Cola Companies, Alnor Danani, who led us this year and also led his own business through a pandemic. So I'm excited to welcome Alnor of Double Cola Companies to the stage with me. Hey, Alnor, welcome.
Hello, Leslie. My pleasure to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
Well, before I move on, I just do want to say what an amazing job you and your team have done in pulling off this event under very different circumstances. So congratulations and well done as we come, I suppose, to the culmination of this event. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. As a family-owned company, the Double Cola Company values our rich history and tradition. We have made it our mission to deliver quality and consistency for our customers time and time again, no matter the circumstances. We strive to guarantee excellence in every area of our business. And at the most interesting time, we saw the opportunity to launch Brewski, a favorite with a new twist, to bring creativity to our customers. The nonprofits we are here to celebrate also guarantee excellence so that the community can count on them when support is most critical. They bring creativity to launch new efforts when stakes are high. They show a return on investment. And like us, they are focused on their mission, always. Double Cola is proud to sponsor the Nonprofit of the Year award, recognizing an organization that ensures quality in all aspects of their work. The three finalists are, in no particular order, Arts Build. The mission of Arts Build is to build a stronger community through the arts. They serve in a public-private partnership role to carry out the functions of a local arts agency and a United Arts Fund. YMCA. YMCA of Metro Chattanooga offers programs that build healthy spirit, mind, and body for all through several branches, as well as Camp Ocoee. Creative Discovery Museum. The Creative Discovery Museum is our local hands-on children's museum that provides educational programs and exhibits in the arts and sciences with a focus on play and accessibility. In fact, let's get to know these finalists a bit more. Wow. Tough to choose from. As you can see, we had 3 great finalists for this award. The winner has helped feed thousands of kids who were missing meals due to schools being closed. They provided childcare for Chattanooga's essential workers. They provided assistance to our homebound elderly neighbors, and their East Brainerd location became the hub for tornado response and relief after the Easter tornadoes. We are proud to present the Nonprofit of the Year award to YMCA of Metro Chattanooga. Yay!
I would concur, more than just a swim and gym. Congratulations, YMCA of Metro Chattanooga, and also to Arts Build and the Creative Discovery Museum, all 3 organizations who go so far beyond just their essential missions to do more in our community. Friends, what a day we've had. I am energized more than ever and humbled to continue on in this role after spending this time with you, celebrating community. Thank you for being here to reflect and celebrate not just the organizations that we recognize today, but the power of the social sector, our volunteers, our corporate partners and givers. This is our united community. I hope that you enjoyed this really unique Remo virtual platform that we created for you today. In fact, we're going to have time at the end of this, at least 10 to 15 more minutes to continue networking, talking, hopping from table to table, to take some time and continue engaging. We're going to leave this open for you as our gift to you to have some time together. We want to leave you with some inspiration from National Youth Poet Laureate Amanda Gorman, who is encouraging us to continue to live united. And once the video ends, again, we encourage you to return to the conversation in the virtual hall with your table members. Take a minute, talk about Amanda's words, ask each other this: as the crisis of the past year slowly fades, how can we keep up this momentum, keep up what we've learned? How can we continue to live to give? Thank you again to our sponsors. Congratulations to the winners and to all of you who continue to live united. Thank you.